Hello, and welcome to episode 27 of Columbus Local Podcast. Today, I have Bob Maines. Hello, Bob.
Len, how are you?
I'm doing great, and thanks for coming tonight. I've said this to you before, but you've been a personal inspiration for me since I think I was 15, 16 years old. We went to school together back in the day in Westerville, and you had played a gig with your bandmates, and it just blew everybody away. And ever since then, I'm like, man, he's doing it. But ever since then, man, I've been a fan. And today, you're with Radio City as guitarist.
Yes.
How is that for you?
For me, it's wonderful. It was coming out of playing with a great band like Stadium 11. It was a nice change for me. But the band and all the members are so wonderful. The chemistry's great. Music's wonderful. The people that come see us, it's just amazing. So it's been such a pleasure to play with such great musicians.
Yeah, the spirit of Radio City is rock and roll with kindness.
Yes. That's a good way to put it. Yeah,
and it just the attitude is friendly and having a good time.
Yeah,
I mean we love those shows, man.
And you really have to owe that to Nikki, right? She's just an amazing front person and brings that positive energy. So yeah, just from the very first gig I did with them, it was so fun, and so it feels like home. Feels good.
Good. That's good. And you're having fun with that.
Having a blast.
And Radio City is the current 2023 QFM house band.
Correct, yes.
And prior to that, you were with another QFM 96 house band.
Yeah,
you
hard
mentioned
to believe.
Earlier.
Yes.
So I think you might be the only guy that's been in more than one within a very short period of time, within a couple of years, man.
Yeah, when I kind of connect the dots, I guess, as we were talking earlier, right?
Yeah.
It's I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, it's great, and that was a wonderful time as well. I spent 10 plus years with Stadium 11. Yeah, James and I formed the band. And it was a lot of fun. But the QFM gig was kind of a pinnacle to that, and lots of fun. Unfortunately, it was right on the front end of COVID, and that had not a good effect on that. So
right. But how did that all come about for you in getting into Stadium 11 and founding that with James?
Well, Pete Vogel plays drums here in town. Has been a longtime friend, and I knew of James, and but I didn't know him personally enough at that time. But we'd had cross paths and played with different people, different members, right? And I at that time I was looking for something different. So, and I always wanted to kind of do another band with Pete Vogel. Right at the time, we played early on, back in the mid '80s together when we first met, and we went to see James play with a band that he was playing with. I can't remember the name of them offhand, but we kind of corralled him at the end and said, "Hey, we need to put a band together," and so that kind of led to some further conversations that we came together and formed Stadium 11. And it kind of grew organically. Cliff Stanton was the original singer with that. And I think when we first all got together, it was very energetic. And we we got something here. This feels good. And we just kind of grew from there. So.
Yeah, when you know, because you feel it.
Yeah,
that was a great lineup. That original lineup, it was a lot of fun. I remember those days.
It was a great time, and that came for me off of 12 years of not playing pretty much. I've been with a few bands, Blue Vinyl before that, some great musicians, but Stadium 11 was kind of took it up another level.
Oh yeah,
and more so than I think we thought. right? In other words, we were playing big songs, which is how we came up with the name Stadium 11. But we started realizing, hey, you're not hearing these kind of songs from many bands, and they were enjoyable to play and had a lot of energy. So it brought up, and there were things that we grew up with. So we're like, all right, this fits.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and then it evolved forward, right? Like it's still out there. Stadium 11 is still booking and still doing huge shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really a testament,
James is at the heart of that and keeps it going, and it's amazing. Absolutely, I love it. Yes.
Yeah, it's great to see. So with your Westerville upbringing, I share that with you. We graduated the same time at Westerville South. Who were you jamming with? Who were you? Because obviously you were a good player as a young guy. You were, playing with folks around the neighborhood. I was relatively close to you guys, but I wasn't playing music at that time. But I heard of you guys and whatnot. But who were you jamming with?
Well, I moved to Westerville. Gosh, this would have been 78, maybe. We moved to Westerville. So I've only been playing for a short period of time up into that point, and so we moved to Westerville. Freshman year, right? I didn't know anyone. Played football at the very beginning, right? And then I met Scott Surratt and Ed Jordan, and realized Scott's a drummer. Ed played a synthesizer. That's what he literally called it then. And it was, and we just got together just to play. And there was two guys that we were all kind of, I don't want to say misfits, but we were kind of just, we weren't jocks, we weren't this, we weren't that. And we ended up jamming together. And then we joined the talent show mid-year. And we did an original song called Castle of Pride. And that was Ed Jordan's lyrics. I did the music, and then we performed. And our buddy Chris Schwartz built a flash pot. And this was in the days when you did you presented to the student body midday, right? So you had a full house,
right?
Whether you wanted it or not.
That place was packed, dude.
Packed, right? And we go out there, and we were called at that time Pantera.
Yep.
And little did we, that was before the real band Pantera came, of course. But it was named after a car. I do know that. Scott Surratt had named the band. But we went out, and I knew that Chris had a flash pot, and I knew we were going to come out. When those curtains opened, we just went all out. And the rest was a blur. But I remember the flash pot going off and feeling the heat of that thing. And after that, it was like I was like in a whole different school. It was like people didn't know you played, and all of a sudden now everybody knew who you were.
Big man on campus walking down the hall the next day, man.
It was, in a weird way it was. Yes. But it was
so cool, man. It was just so cool.
I remember walking down the hallway to the next class. I had a chemistry class after that. Yeah. And people were walking by, "You're the next Led Zeppelin, dude." Of course that's not even close.
Yeah, but it was cool.
But it opened up doors, and it helped build a confidence, because as we were talking earlier, I've had this in me for a long time. I've been playing guitar since I was 9 years old.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So that was really the first real experience with a band playing heavy, the kind of music we wanted to play.
Yeah. So who were you listening to that was heavy, that got you like motivated to learn?
Oh gosh, that time. I mean, I was definitely a huge Ritchie Blackmore, Deep Purple fan. Yeah. Kiss. I mean, but by that time, I'd already seen my first concert, Kiss. I was an Ace Frehley guy. Heavy rock. I loved Thin Lizzy. You name it. It was all that '70s rock. And I mean, we were fortunate to grow up in that era.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I mean, listening to today's music, it's it's nice to have grown up when we did with music.
Oh yeah,
that we lived with.
Yeah, both the '70s and the '80s when you think about it.
Oh yeah.
But the '70s were really special.
Guitar based.
Yeah, there's so many great bands, right? And so eclectic, right? When you think about it, right? But that song kind of came. I don't know. It was a pretty angry song. I mean, it was like a dun 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 dun. Dun. I mean, it was heavy, and but it was fun. So, at any rate, that kind of started it right there. The rest was, many different bands after that.
Oh, for sure. So, 1981, we graduate from Westerville South, and where'd you go?
So 1981 was very interesting, right? I knew I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to play music. And I had joined a band called Kid Gloves at the time. And they were an all-original band. Laura Locke, who was from Columbus area here, was really the songwriter. But we did original. And and the band wasn't together very long, but we played a lot on campus, and we recorded. We ended up recording at Amerisound here in town, and caught the eye of I think the then attorney it was a weird connection, but he became our manager. And long story short, we were going to move to LA. And so we played a lot of gigs and did an EP of original music. And, but then I met my wife, and that changed the trajectory.
Changed everything.
Yes,
changed the plan.
Well, it forced me to think about, okay, how am I going to balance all this, right? Because I knew if I moved to LA, which was what the band was, what we were charged to do, it was definitely a dream, but it wasn't there wasn't a lot of stability in that, right? And so yeah, I chose to stay here, and luckily I did, because the band broke up not too long after that. So it was the right choice for me.
Yeah, for sure. So your life obviously really stemmed from those moments with her and your family today.
Yeah.
And that's good stuff. It's a good path. It's a blessing moment.
Well, I still played, for a long time after that. So it was just played locally. And
so who are you playing with then?
So after that, played with an artist called J.B. Bruck. Ironically, up until that point, to a point where before I took a hiatus, which is another story, I played all original music. So it wasn't cover band kind of stuff. So the thought of playing a cover band and learning 50, 60 songs scared the heck out of me.
Foreign.
Yeah. It would,
I don't want to copy that guy, right?
Yeah, even though we did some covers, right? But it was definitely an original thing. So we were always geared to opening up for somebody and playing venues like that, and playing venues like the Agora or Westerville, some of the venues here that were local. But yeah, it wasn't until later in life, so to speak, that started playing the cover band. And
that's cool. And so when you were playing these, you were playing Agora and
yeah, so I ended up joining a band. We're going back into high school, right? So by the time I was a junior in high school, we were a junior in high school. I joined a band called Zephyra, that was based. It was a Beechcroft band on the North End, very popular, and got connected with them. I'm trying to remember how I did that, but Bob Watts, who's still around town here, played bass guitar. Pierre Brand, an awesome guitar player and singer, and we and Kenny Osborne from Westerville South played drums.
Sure.
And we ended up being connected and playing a couple of the Pilot Dog benefit shows at the Agora. And the first one we played, we opened up for Black Leather Touch back in the day. And then the second one, I think it was a year or two later, we opened up for Rosie, which one of the early shows from Mark Chatfield's band, Rosie, after the Gods had disbanded. So we had the fortune to be able to play a big stage like that. It was just amazing.
Do you remember the first time you played a big stage?
The Agora, yes.
Yeah. How'd that go?
It was amazing, and eventful, right? So I think I was telling you the story earlier. My amp blew up. So I had a Marshall amp at the time, it blew up in the middle of the show. And the band that was there before had an amp, an old Sound City amp that had been modified with a master volume, and I plug into that, and we're playing La Via Stagnado from Rush, right? And looking back, I don't know how the heck we even thought we'd play that, but we did. And the amp was so godly, so loud.
Even with the master volume,
and of course we're in the middle of performance, so I didn't know where to go to turn the thing down.
For an amp. Yeah.
I went through the whole show, the rest of the show, with that loud amp, which I wanted to buy it afterwards, but the guy wouldn't sell it. But it was wonderful. But anyway, it was the sound of that big stage, the people that were playing there at the time, the sound systems on the stage, everything was amazing. So it was a really great experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's still coming from you today. It sounds like it was like, last weekend's gig, it's still fresh in your mind.
Yeah, it's one of those life milestones, really. When you think about all these things, especially as a musician, right? And I'm sure you can relate to it, in your journey. But there are points where either you were connected with a particular song, music, or you had an event like that, right? And I was fortunate, looking back, to do a number of events, And as we were talking earlier, I took 12 years off, to raise family, go to school, and so forth. And my last gig was at the Newport. It was the Newport by this time, opening up for Bachman Turner Overdrive.
That's cool.
And that was another original band, called J.B. Brock. But the being able to have access, to be able to play those kind of those venues and be able to be in front of those kind of crowds was absolutely amazing. So yes, absolutely. That was part of the dream. It's always been a part of the dream, right?
For sure. Absolutely. So did you, there's a number of people that graduated around the time that we did that made their way out to the West Coast. Yeah. Have you found yourself, or did you find yourself wanting to go there? It sounded like you had that one band that was like, ready to do it. But, after that, were there other opportunities, and did you pursue those?
Well, nothing. I always wanted to go out there, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of one of the places to be. But I ended up being out there through my job, through work. So I would spend time when I would go out there and work for weeks at a time. I would make my way to Sunset Boulevard. But I would go there for the gear. So I would go to all the shops. You see a lot of great locals and stars. I mean, I've seen John Entwistle and a number of people from The Who, you name it, CeCe DeVille. Just walking around. And in that time, you didn't really approach them. It wasn't cool to do that. But it was really cool just to be around that. But of course, when you're there and you start to see the lights go down, you start to see the vibe as it starts to become nighttime and everything. It was an amazing place. Honestly, I don't know what it would have been like living there, but some of our friends, right, who've lived that life, I would have loved to have done it at least once. So.
For sure, but in your case, you're at a corporate provided hotel room, right?
Yeah, my life is very different at that point.
Just living, yes. The street life of hitting the good. What were some of the guitar stores that you would hit, and what were you kind of drawn toward?
Oh my gosh! Well, you had Valley Arts there, they built tons of cars. Paul Rivera, who built many amps at that time, was in that shop. The local Guitar Center was probably the biggest at the time, and that's the original. I believe it's the original. I could be wrong on that, but I think you and I were talking earlier about the story. I ended up going in there and just plugging in guitars, right? Just this is Disneyland, right? for us.
Oh, for sure.
And then this young guy comes over, and I'm playing some riffs, and he starts singing to what I'm playing, and we just had to spend half hour or so just playing, and he had an incredible voice, and so we just started playing and that was
Page for a little while, right?
Yeah, it was a random fun moment, but definitely remember that.
So cool. So cool. Did you go to any of the clubs and see any bands when you were there? No time.
No, I didn't really do. I didn't really go to the clubs. When my wife would come out, we would do a few clubs.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, by that time, I really was there for the gear and for the shops and the seeing the great guitarists, things I couldn't really always see here. So I don't know. Looking back, I probably wish I would have, honestly, but I didn't.
Yeah, I think you end up doing what you can do in your spare minutes, on a corporate trip.
Yeah, I had to work the next
Obviously,
day. So.
yeah, I get that. Your priority was gear, and I think observing your career, in music, right? Gear is a big deal for you. Like what's your rig for Radio City right now?
So right now, I've actually made the jump, not playing real amps. So I am playing Kemper for those guitar players who are out there. So I'm playing a Kemper right now. I'm playing the guitar I'm playing. I'm actually having built. It's called Rock and Roll Relics. They're out of L.A. And if anybody who's seen us at the QFM gig, the gold guitar I had was a Rock and Roll Relics, but I'm actually having one built now. So,
what kind is it?
It is called the Black Heart. It is a Joan Jett style melody maker guitar, Gibson melody maker. So it'll be a sparkle finish. That's what I like.
Wow.
So, but
what color are you having built?
It's a teal blue sparkle. But I'm pretty traditional when it comes to gear like that. So, I have an EVH guitar that has the whammy bar and so forth. But I like simple gear, and maybe some might not think the Kemper is simple.
Well, I was just going to say, man, Kemper is not simple. There's a lot of knobs on that thing.
There is.
But you say you like simple. Do you tweak a lot on the Kemper?
I'm one of those guys. If I know a good amp, if I go to an amp and I dial in my settings that I want, if I can't do it within a few seconds, then it's probably not for me. So, but the good thing about Kemper is that there are a lot of good guys out there. Like I use Top Jimmy profiles, and so that guy really spends the time to dial that in, right? So I don't have to reinvent what he's done. I just tweak it a little bit.
You just download his hard work.
Yeah.
Does it cost you money to do that?
Yeah, it's relatively cheap. So okay. like I did. Right now I'm doing a George Lynch and an EVH set of rigs. And they're all based on Marshall. So they're modeled. They have recorded. I don't know how profiled, if you will. That's the right term.
Yeah.
They profiled the real amps.
Yeah.
So and then they tweak them. So by the time they go out into front of house, so to speak, they're already dialed in. I don't have to have all that stage volume.
Right.
And with Radio City, everybody's in ears. So prior to that, I didn't do any ears. So now, I needed to kind of make that jump. And it makes life a lot easier, especially for our sound guys. But the nice thing about Kemper is it's a very consistent sound. So once you get there, it's very, very consistent, and you don't have to worry. You don't have to fight the gig to gig. Because when you play a real amp, it's really prone to the room. It's really susceptible and sensitive to the room you're playing or the stage you're playing, right? And as a guitar player, I'm a field player. You and I talked about that earlier. You're a field player too. So those little nuances can drive me crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
And they can make a night good or really bad, right?
Yep.
And what I've noticed with the Kemper is it kind of removes some of that. You pay a little bit of a price, right? There's a little bit of feel that you don't quite have with the real amp, but it's not enough to. It's
the benefit outweighs
the benefit. Yes,
yeah.
The benefit you get is you can focus on the performance.
Yep.
And so that part of it I've enjoyed.
That's good. Well, and with everybody else, is Vinny on a modeler? Is he?
He's running Kemper as well. So he was doing it before me.
Guys.
Yeah. So he and his dad were obviously doing that, and his tone is always great. So Vinny's talk about a young talent. Vinny is an amazing guitar player.
We got to buy stock in him.
Yeah, he's amazing. So, And that's the other kind of going back to Radio City, being able to play with another guitar player, because I've usually always been the only guitar player in the band. So being with another guitar player and to have somebody like Vinny, where it's like a symbiotic kind of relationship almost, right? We play off each other, we do our parts. There's chemistry. I don't have to worry about what he does. I'm sure he doesn't worry about what I do. It just works, and the whole band is like that.
It works really well. And then you got everybody just firing on 10, all the way around. It's a great show.
No, thank you. Yeah, so it's fun from that standpoint. But at any rate, we digress a little bit. But yeah. So gear I'm always been a gearhead for a very, very long time. So good guitars. But at the same time, I'm pretty simple. I don't have a lot of pedals. I usually I go for a good tone, what I think's good tone. And then I typically use that pretty common set of tones for the whole show. So I just use the volume of the guitar and a few effects. I love delays. Got to have delays in there. So, but it's a pretty simple setup for the most part when I play.
Yeah, I mean, I think the sound of Radio City really has evolved over the years, but with your addition and then the partnership you described between the other guitar player Vinny, it just really rounds everything out.
Yeah, it really does, because a lot of times you can be in bands, and we probably all experience this, where that chemistry is not there, or that sound is not meshing well.
Right. That
can happen with guitar players very easily, and so you never feel that. But it's been great.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, how often are you practicing, Bob? Like, you're probably pretty well versed with the core material of Radio City. You've been with them for some time, and you guys bring in new songs, to keep things fresh.
Yeah.
That's always been a trait of the band. But how often do you find yourself playing in a given week?
I probably touch the guitar every day.
Yeah.
Truly. I don't know if I consider it practicing per se. I just have to play. And I'm usually just noodling or just doing whatever, right? But I've got to, it's an outlet. So I've got to be able to express myself with the guitar. So usually every day is something that I'm touching. But when we learn material, for example, and it's a pretty quick process, and sometimes it either works or it doesn't, right? But we learn a song, get together at least once. If it works, it's in the set, and then we kind of perfect it live when we play it. But by that time, everybody knows their parts, for the most part, right? We all have our moments, but it's a very easy process to do that. And I know, even going back to my days with Stadium 11, the types of songs we were playing, they were big songs. So it really is a muscle memory. It's just you hear it in your head and you're playing it. It's not something you think about. So you got to get past the mechanics of it, and it's just got to be a part of what you're performing and what you're hearing. And what you're hearing in your head, at least for me, this is my experience. It carries you through. It carries you through the song. So,
yeah, for sure.
If that makes any sense, but it's it's just a part of you. It's part of your heart, part of your soul. It's part of your being. And when you're playing, it's an emotional thing, not a mechanical thing.
You came from a relatively musical family, right? Your brother plays. He's in a local band, the Devitt's.
Yeah, my brother Ron, the bass player for the Devitt's.
Good stuff.
20-something years now. Yeah, those guys have been great, amazing.
Or are you passing your musical influence to your daughters?
Yes, actually, both my daughters. So I have two daughters, right? My oldest daughter Julia sings and plays guitar, and I've done probably a good part of her life of. We've done talent shows together. We've done some acoustic gigs together. We've now play, and now she's her fiance is a very accomplished guitar player themselves and do recordings on their own. And my daughter Madeline plays bass guitar, They both were marching bands, so they're very musical in that regard. But what's really nice now is I have the opportunity to share the stage with them, and we get together and we play.
Man, I am so envious. Like, I really am.
And we
That's
play
so
all
awesome.
kinds of stuff. Right?
Oh, good.
So as we were mentioning, we're getting ready to do a Halloween gig. So we're playing Dracula from Rob Zombie and a Ghost song and original of Stevens and a band called Royal Blood that we're going to be doing some songs from. Lord Huron. I mean, just an eclectic, wide range of stuff.
And
That's just a blast.
Some Halloween themed.
It's all Halloween themed, yes, and so it's a lot of fun. But we've done a lot of classic stuff together too, like some Fleetwood Mac and Heart and bands like that. So they've got a very old soul to them at times, for the music that they've grown up and listened to for mom and dad, of course. But they have an ear for music, which has really been great to see. Not because of me, but they've evolved that themselves.
So cool.
So that's really, really fun. Makes me happy.
Yeah, for sure. What do you? I mean, aside obviously from your immediate family's influence and motivations, what are you reaching toward for inspiration today for your own guitar playing?
It's funny. Anything that sounds good, I don't care what genre it is. Honestly,
I'm totally
I don't.
with you, man.
We play a wide range of stuff. But that's where my daughters, I really enjoy them too, because they're always turning me on to things, right? I guess years ago when my daughters were in high school, they turned me on to a band called Nightwish and Camelot and some of these bands, and we would go see the concerts together. And today we just recently went to see Ghost. And if you ever seen Ghost, a great band, but they're in a very particular genre. And they're always turning me on to things. So I just take it in. I love all kinds of music, and I love playing all kinds of music. So it doesn't matter, and then we just adapt. And those are some of the many songs we end up typically playing together. So it becomes an eclectic mix that is like, all right, this works for us, So it's good.
That's really cool. So when you first started to play guitar, did you learn the chords and then go to some of your lead playing? Because you're one that will play both rhythm and lead. Did you learn the chords first and then kind of go to the scales, or what was your?
I started learning chords first because I thought the way to kind of learn some of the songs was to go buy the sheet music, just like anything else, right? But you quickly realize that doesn't sound like what I'm hearing. So, for example, I was a huge Kiss fan when I was at that age, right? So nothing I did sounded like Kiss. It sounded like the real thing.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember that there was a Tony's Music in Westerville, downtown Westerville. You remember?
Of course.
So when we first moved there, my mom takes me there for a guitar lesson. And I think it was Tony. I think it was really the guy that owned it that would teach. And I'm exaggerating, of course, but I remember something like, he wanted to teach me Mary Had a Little Lamb. And I brought this Kiss Destroyer album songbook to him. This is what I want to learn. And I just learned really quickly that if I'm going to want to do this stuff at that time, I had to learn it by ear. So I'm self-taught pretty much. I don't read music. I pretty much learned everything by ear. And that's why a lot of the players that I grew up listening or grew up around, right, local influences, it's pretty much the way I had seen others doing it. And as you know, you absorb people that are better than you around you. You learn by physically being in there, around
asking
them.
Questions, hanging out,
exactly,
playing,
just watching.
Dude,
right?
How did you make that sound? I want to make that sound. What'd you do? Like
exactly,
just a pull off or something. You don't know how that works until you ask those questions, right?
Exactly. So you're observing, you're taking in. I was a sponge at that time, right? And my first electric guitar and amp, my dad bought me from Gary Wolf at the string shop down on campus. And it was And Gary was just a really wonderful guy. But I remember him asking me as a kid, "Hey, what do you want to? What kind of stuff do you like to play?" And I said, "Well, I want to play lead guitar." Didn't quite know exactly what it was. He says, "Do you know any scales?" So I said, "Of course, no, I don't." And he shows me the blues pentatonic scale, the typical scale that most guitar players start with, and that opened up a whole new world.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So now I took this new knowledge, took it home, put on an Aerosmith. I remember, I think I put an Aerosmith album on. It's like, all right, how am I going to apply this? And I quickly started to realize that I was growing an ear. I just really didn't realize it, but I was also impatient. So I just wanted to start playing. So my early improv skills started to come out from that standpoint. So learning from record, using that scale, improving, trying to perform and do the things that I was hearing, and translating that, I kind of had to do that on my own. And nowadays, I watch my daughter Madeline, for example. She knows how to read tabs really well. And funny story: I'm on a business trip. I come home, I hear this sound in her bedroom. It was a bass sound. I'm hearing Rihanna. I think it was from Fleetwood Mac. And I hear the bass line, and I'm coming up to say, hello. It was an evening. I got back in an evening, and I opened the door and I startled her, and she had her bass guitar on and she's playing, and I was like, "Are you playing that song?" And she was, but it did not sound. I thought I was hearing the record, and I said, "How'd you learn that?" And she knew, she's able to read the tabs and so forth. I'm sure I could if I applied myself, but I'm at this point in my life, I'm like, if I can't learn it by ear, I'm probably not doing it. Or I'll go on YouTube, right, and find somebody who's done a good translation of something.
So that's carried forward even to today for you.
Yes.
You're just playing by ear.
Yeah,
For the
exactly.
most part. But you'll study a song if you're learning a cover song.
Oh,
for
definitely.
performance. It's a different deal. But
that's the beauty of YouTube today, right? So you can get the visual with it. There's other tools available. But my point is, when I was learning, when we were young, right, that was not available. So it was a record player, literally a vinyl moving the needle, and so you had to pick up an ear, because I didn't have the patience to learn how to read music. That was not in it for me, and that's not the path I went. I really respect the guys who can do that. And we were talking earlier, I really respect the people that have the chops and mechanics and train. And I would love to do that.
Theory.
But I also had to just realize that's not me. So I've just got to be content with who I am, as much as I'm critical of my own capabilities, right, as a musician.
It's the only way to live, man. You got to be yourself. You do.
Yeah. You definitely do. But
and go with it.
But I think sometimes musicians can be their own worst critics too, and I'm definitely one of those types of people. But when you can enjoy, live music, for example, you can enjoy applying your craft and having fun with it, then all that stuff goes away pretty quick.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And there's nothing better than having a good crowd in the mix. I mean, that's really what it's for. I mean,
and especially the crowds you've been playing the last 15 years, right? I mean, with Stadium 11, big crowds, big shows, and Radio City now, big crowds, big shows, and the future of that band is only going to be bigger. It's a great brand. It's going to be out there, and
hopefully,
I know how hard JP, the business end,
he's
has
crazy hard work,
invested in what's going on there.
And shout out to JP, because I appreciate so much what he does. But your point is absolutely right. I mean, that's what makes it enjoyable. If there's a good crowd and they're enjoying it and they're having fun, that translates. There's nothing like that kind of energy.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember seeing you at the QFM band night out at Leon's. And
what fun.
You had the biggest smile on your face. Dude, it was just so much fun seeing you just enjoy that performance. And you had, I think, one of those guitars that you were playing. It was yellow, gold sparkle.
It was a yellow sparkle Rock and Roll Relics.
You still have it?
I don't. No, I sold it. But I sold it to have the new one built. So let's be clear about that. I'm getting another
So
one.
what are you playing now?
I am playing an EVH, Eddie Van Halen guitar.
Cool.
Yeah, for the most part. I've got a few other, the cheaper guitarists as backups, but that's my main guitar right now until the new one comes out.
Really sweet.
Yeah.
Well, now, will the Blackheart have all the Jet stickers and relic that way,
No.
or are you doing it your own way?
So the nice thing about that particular brand is that they're known for their relicking. So it'll be relicked. It'll look like it's been played for 50 years or so, right? But they put their own twist to it. So it'll be one of a kind. So they're made to order. So I spec it out the way I want, the color I want. They build it to my specs, and it'll be one of a kind. But the nice thing is that you're buying a handmade guitar.
Oh yeah. Polished and
It's
rubbed and all that.
it has mojo. So
What kind of pickup? Is it a single pickup, single knob,
this won't be.
Joan Jett?
This will be actually a dual humbucker.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and they are called a brand called Lolar High Wind
Sure.
Imperials.
So high gain.
Higher gain, yes.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, a lot of dynamics with just that volume knob, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the key.
You know the deal.
Yeah. So very, very traditional, but it's a rocker.
When are you expecting to have that in your hands?
Within the month.
Oh my gosh. Good deal.
They usually take about six to 12 months, depending on the timing that you hit them. But yeah, they take a while to get them, but it's so worth it. So you get something that's, that's personal, very personal,
and of very high quality and use.
Exactly, and they look great on stage. So can't beat the sparkles.
No way, man. That's awesome. That's good stuff. I think that you can't have enough gear, but you're going to continue to evolve.
Well, you'd have to ask my wife about that.
Where do you see, like, how many guitars do you have today?
Honestly,
because it sounds like you've pared back a little bit.
I have. I have. If I had to count them, including my acoustic, 4.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
I've had them for a long time, but what I tell myself so I can keep keep sanity here. So is I flip the stuff in order to I keep the stuff I really want to keep. But if I'm on a border for it, if I want something else, I'll usually flip it. So I'm always buying and selling, put it that way.
Yes, you are. And amp-wise, you've kind of tapered that down because you have your focus on Kemper right now.
Yeah, I have a Kemper. Sold all my real amps, but I do have a new one coming on order, so I have to have at least one real amp.
Good for you.
So that's coming probably in another month or two. Hopefully I'll keep it. You never say never. But I don't have the room or the budget to just to pile on things. But I do want to be whatever I have. My philosophy is it's stuff I use.
Yep.
I don't want to just have it to
have it sitting in a spare bedroom somewhere that just isn't being used. It's like,
or I paid so much money for something that I'm
talent.
afraid to take it to a gig. I don't want that kind of scenario. So
Right.
I want something that I'm going to be able to use, want to use. So at least that's my philosophy. It doesn't always work, but it helps keep me good, good terms with the family. My wife knows me very well.
She's a great partner.
She is. She knows. She teases me all the time. She's like, especially when a new box is coming. What is in that?
Yes.
But it's good. No, we laugh. But the funny thing about my wife Bobby is that she knows all the guitars. She knows the brands. She knows the models. She could talk gear almost as well as I can at times, which is fun.
If I remember correctly, she was a little heavier with the rock. The music she listened to. She was like metal and, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, which I think was one of the bands maybe you listened to, but she was pretty heavy.
Rainbow.
But she's maybe, did you share that like higher end, rock, high gain?
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Heavy.
I mean, she had the same style
Taste.
and same taste for rock. I mean, so that really was something that we experienced early on, right? So that was something in common. But we've been to so many shows together and still listen to the same things. And this, again, that translates to our daughters and everything. So we all listen to very much of the similar stuff. But there are some things that I like that she doesn't necessarily, may not venture into, so to speak.
Like what?
But, I wouldn't put Steely Dan's probably not high on her list, for example, or, we play Shania Twain and some of the other country stuff. She's not going to listen to that stuff. And she'll venture more into what maybe 99.7 will play. Nothing wrong against it, but I tend to be at heart more classic.
Yeah.
So I'll put on, Give Me Rainbow, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, any of those, any day of the week. I'd pick that over most of the stuff I'd listen to. But yeah, but we're very close in terms of our styles.
Yeah. Yeah. Hardworking family. Strong appreciation for music.
And lots of concerts. We've done, like I said, we've seen a lot of concerts over the years together.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Mr. Maines, I think episode 27 of Columbus Local Podcast really appreciated your sharing of what your story is a bit and some of your inspirations and your influences, your contributions to Columbus music. Really, I think you got a lot of years ahead of you, despite our current age bracket.
Yes.
Despite it.
Yeah. And we get to share that exact same bracket, don't we?
We do.
We're a month apart, actually, to be specific.
Yeah, we had big birthdays this year.
We did, absolutely. But I know I appreciate that. It's absolutely an honor, and I love what you're doing with this, Len. And I've loved to see how you've grown as a musician yourself over the years, right?
It's been great.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Amazing. Not to mention you're just a great person all the way around, great human, right? But I really appreciate it. And, it's very enjoyable, and I'm going to keep going until, as I've told people many years ago, I'm going to be probably one of those guys that retires in the lounge as a lounge singer in a Holiday Inn somewhere.
Or a cruise line.
Or a cruise line.
Just get off one and go on to the other, and people will take the Kemper or the boutique tube amp or whatever you'll be playing at that time to the next ship and off to the Bahamas.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, the point is definitely that I'll always have a guitar in my hand. So.
Keep doing it.
Yes.
Keep doing it. You got to keep playing. I feel that. Well, thank you, Bob Maines. And looking forward to the next Radio City show. We'll see you. And, the next new relic guitar coming up here soon.
Absolutely. I'll
be out to that first show. Keep an eye out.
Awesome. Can't wait.
And thanks, man. I appreciate you being here. Thanks, everyone, for listening. This is episode number 27 of Columbus Local Podcast. Thank you, and have a great night. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Lynn.